What's up, people? This is Reedie Zee pre-game show coming to you live from week 1 against the hated New York Football Giants. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, but first and foremost, happy anniversary to the Bostons. Must
Appreciate
salute the 8 years.
you. Yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah, salute, man.
Yeah, but we got a lot to talk about today. You know what I'm saying? We got Jayden Daniels, we got Terry McLaurin back in the fold, Debo Samuel, and much more coming right now. Reedie Zee starts.
It's the Reedie Zee show. Reedie Zee show. It's the Reedie Zee show. Reedie Zee show. Reedie Zee show.
Reedie Zee, week 1 pregame.
We are here.
We are here.
Back.
Football is definitely back.
Bro, it was just January, and we was just sitting in a link, taking that L and walking to our cars and talking about, man, yeah, fuck this shit. We not re up our tickets and all this and that, and you know what I mean? A lot has changed since January. I mean, we here in
I
September.
don't think we said that in January. We wasn't renting up our tickets.
Reedie definitely said it walking to this.
I don't remember saying that. I don't think I was heartbroken, but I don't think I was that heartbroken.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, so I mean, just leading up, it's a lot of hype around this game. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it. Yesterday they reported that there's a sellout. This is an official sellout. We had to go through hell with the parking. Like, it's the Uptown Federal is about to be crazy. Like, how you feeling? Are you getting any anxiety around just the crowd? I mean, not around the game, but more so just how much we gonna have to deal with just getting in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was out of town or whatever, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's getting up on us fast and furious. And it's just like, damn, it's gonna be all of these people. One, so you definitely got to make sure you're in them lines a little earlier than normal. Two, you got to lug all of that stuff out there, set it up, the prep and all of that, get ready. Then you get into the tailgate, you started getting that vibe, you just feel that energy of the fans, and then you got to break everything down and then rush and get into the game. So it's just like trying to prepare your mind mentally for all of the different ebbs and flows and the different things that's going to come with that on game day. You know, every year I say I'm gonna get out there on at such and such a time. I'm leaving out, and I don't never leave out when I say I'm gonna leave out. I'm even talking about packing on Friday, because my Saturday is full. So we will see. But not really no anxiety. But I knew it was going to be hectic because it's week 1, and then it's close. It's in division rival coming from New York. They ain't coming that far. So they'll travel a little bit, but I expect it to be electric in there for 8 to the 9 to go up in the Ring of Honor. So I'm looking forward to that.
Hell of a game for that to be. I mean, I'm sure if it was a Cowboy game, it'd probably been a tad bit better, but like a Giants game, like 8 to the 9, he went up on the Giants just as much as he went up on the Cowboys. So it's definitely an honor, for Santana to be, put into the Ring of Fame, well overdue. It was an emotional announcement for him back early on in training camp. And Santana is my favorite Redskin ever. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be dope, but it just adds to the hypeness with the game. A key matchup that we'll break down a little bit later in the show, but I mean, just to get the Giants in town, like you said, we know that their fans are going to travel. You have a few people here that sprinkles and like the Giants, and then our fans are just going to show up. So we talked about the sellout. I expect it to be probably about, I'll say 70 to 75% us, but that red and that blue is definitely going to be in the midst as well. But I think overall the game is going to be lit. JD5 against neighbors, that's going to continue to be a thing. So it's up. But like you said, as far as the tailgate and everything, you know what I mean, when you sent that text talking about you gonna leaving the house at 6:30 and loading up Friday night, I'm like, yeah, all right, Reedie, we're gonna see. But I definitely I'm gonna be up early. I'm gonna be having the truck loaded up, and I texted somebody yesterday and said I'm gonna probably leave out like almost something to 8 or 8 o'clock,
Yeah,
just
it
to
must
kind of
be nice.
get out there and kind of see what it's like, just to kind of get there early because we gotta get our spot.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? When we don't get our spot, it's kind of hectic. So we definitely want to make sure we where we need to be so we can set up our equipment and get the tailgate rolling.
yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
But we got a lot to coming to y'all today. So stay tuned if you haven't already done so. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification up top so you can get other informative videos just like this one. But we have a special guest for you guys too coming in a little later in the show. So I guess you got to sit through it and hear that to get to that person. But yeah, what you got? You want to hit
Yeah.
first?
I mean, other than that, just you know, what I mean, like we said, we talked about the the team in itself. Like, I mean, actually, before we even get into the depth chart, before we even get into the um the pregame, how did your fantasy team work out? Did you snatch any homers on the team? Like, how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so for the final league that I was in last night, I was able to get Bill, um, you know, and also Chris Rodriguez kind of like as a insurance policy in a sense, in case something. I'm not expecting them to necessarily be starters, but I think it can be a depth piece as we move down the line, as and it relates to it. But everybody else was snatched up pretty quick. JD5 as well as Terry and Debo. In the leagues that I'm in, people went after them pretty early. And I just didn't have the opportunity to pick any of them where it stood. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I know on my team we had an auction draft on Monday night, so I was able to get Jayden. I was able to get Terry and Debo. So I'm trying to figure out, am I going to roll with a starting lineup with
Yeah.
Terry and Debo? I normally don't do that, but I'm thinking that with the amount of touches Debo, I'm expecting a lot of touches with Debo in this offense, and I definitely expect Terry to get his share. So I think I'm just testing it out early. I think I'm gonna roll with them starting, but I also was able to snatch up Bill, and I put him. I'm gonna keep him on the bench until they kind of figure out his role, especially with the surprise placement of him on the depth chart. What I mean, they got him at the fourth running back. I mean, it's unofficial, and I think it's a smokescreen, but it could be one of those things. Dan Quinn always talk about how the rookies need to earn it. He had to earn his way on the team. They pretty much pushed B Rob out, but outside of that, with having them back there, as far as fantasy uses, you got to get a feel for what they're gonna do. So I'm not gonna start on week one. A part of me wants to, but I have some other options to be a little flexible there. So
Yeah, you definitely got to have those other options,
yeah,
especially when there's money on the line.
yeah, fact. So
You
yeah,
know.
too much of a homer, but the way the draft went, and I still had some little money at the end, I was able to kind of fill my roster with guys that I really wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
I was trying to strategically not get guys, on my fantasy team if I could. Um and see, you know what I mean? But it fell the way it fell, and I kind of had no choice but to kind of pick up a couple guys, like I said. But yeah, because I tend to kind of draft a lot of our guys, and I said this year I wanted to get away from that.
Yeah, true. So yeah, so I mean, if you want, we can talk about the depth chart. In a sense, I can present it real quick. Hold on one second.
Yeah, but just looking at this unofficial depth chart that was just released, not too much of a shakeup. The only shakeup I think people were thinking that Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt was going to be a little higher up as it relates to the running back position. Austin Eckler comes out of the gate, but that's to be expected. But Austin Eckler will be in his role as a traditional third down running back. I I don't necessarily think they're going to try to overuse him as a second down back like that. I think it'll be a by committee, like we've been mentioning before. So that, I mean, I don't know how much of a smokescreen you need to set by putting Bill at the fourth running back. I mean, because ideally, who cares like what the depth chart says? That don't mean that's who's going to be in the game.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And this team also they strive on, whoever walks out there for the first play of the game doesn't mean that they're the starter. It's just that whatever package that they call at that particular time. I mean, the shares of the backfield, it's all based on the game plan, not necessarily a number one guy or a number two guy and so on. So but definitely, having Bill down there, it just gives us something to talk about. And like when they do unofficial stuff, I'm sure they always throw something in there to throw us off, just to kind of start a conversation and to stay trending in a sense. Because if you look at like with the guard, it has Allegretti or Wiley, so I'm sure when you or I look at that, it's like, all right, now why is Allegretti listed above Wiley? You know what I mean? Because all season we talked about, what I mean, pretty much I'm not sure if you lean on it as much as I do, but I always kind of feel like Allegretti is not a starter in this league, and Wiley has definitely shown his versatility and ability to, what I mean, to be durable in a sense, since we acquired him. So, that guy that we thought would have been cut after last year is a cap casualty, but they were able to rework his deal to save some money and also keep him on his team. And he's going to be a key part of the offensive line, especially until Cosme returns. So, what I mean, having Allegretti or Wiley, that's the first time I ever seen or on the depth chart. But, what I mean, it's one of those things that I, when I saw it, I'm like, interesting. But I think personally, I think Wiley will get the start.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, I was confused on the aura as well. I've never seen that either on a depth chart. So what is it dependent on? Is this something floating out there that we don't know about? That's what I'm curious to see,
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I mean, outside of that, you have, the quarterback, running backs, like we talked about, the wide receiver room. You have Terry, you have Debo, you got Noah as the 3. And, Luke is the next alternate for Terry and Noah. And in the slot, they have Jaylen Lane backing up Debo. So, pretty much I'm sure that's the way it's supposed to be. Jaylen Lane is set out to be, a contributor for us in the slot. They talk about how he can play outside as well. We saw clips with Terry kind of teaching him some technique. The day that Terry got his contract, he's out there, being a mentor to the younger guys and, showing them some ins and outs to the position. So I was excited to see that from Terry. But also, I think Jaylen Lane is going to be a key contributor there in that slot. Jaylen Lane is also listed as the punt returner. You got to scroll down a little bit. But Jaylen Lane is listed as the punt returner with Luke behind him. And Debo Samuel is listed as the kick returner opposite of Luke McCaffrey. So, like, typically when you have your kick returner, your returners in a sense, especially kickoff, you're kind of like, throwing guys that are typically like on the back of the depth chart, guys that you okay. Now, I don't want to say you're okay with risking getting hurt, but typically you wouldn't put a starter or like a key guys there because you don't want them to get hurt. So in this case, they have Debo there. Interesting to see if he goes out and be that kick returner. But when I saw that kind of stood out to me as well. And I was going to ask you, when you saw it, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I didn't really. First of all, when I first seen it, I didn't realize it, and I came back to it, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." Because we talked about ad nauseum why Austin Eckler shouldn't be on the kick return. Given the concussions and things of that nature, and like you said, you don't want to put one of your key contributors on that group and risk an injury or something like that. But I guess, they may want, I guess he's the best person right there. Um, so that's interesting to see. I thought maybe it would be a Jaylen Lane versus the Debo. So, but that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, Lane was definitely rumored to be the return guy, pretty much kick return, punt return. So we'll see how that evens out come game time. As far as the safeties, Quan Martin's your starter. Will Hurst your starter. That's pretty much where it is. Percy Butler is above Tyler Owens on the depth chart. So we'll see how much time. I know Percy Butler is usually a contributor on special teams, and he played a pretty fair share of last year at safety when he got in the game. But I think that Tyler Owens will definitely get a little bit more bump this year. So I'll keep an eye out on that. Outside of that, Mikey, Noah, Trey, Jonathan Jones, Marshawn Jonathan Jones. So look like Jonathan Jones is set to be potentially the outside corner with Noah being in a nickel. These guys are going to move around because Jonathan Jones also has experience in playing safety. So we'll see, monitor that and see how that goes. Your Frankie Lou's, Wagner, McGee. They have Von Miller listed as an outside linebacker, but we all know he's a DN. He cannot be listed as a DN because he wears number 24. Not sure why that's a thing, especially these days with defensive ends wearing single numbers. So it's kind of weird, but hey, NFL got the whatever rules they got. So, Vaughn is listed as a outside linebacker, but he is a defensive end. Kinlaw is expected, Payne is expected, Dorrance and Wise is expected. So yeah, other than that, the depth chart pretty much is self-explanatory.
Standard.
Yeah, standard, and we'll see how it moves as the game comes and as the weeks go by. But like I said, I think that it'll change week to week depending on the game plan or whatnot. But yeah, so outside of that, before we dig into the preview, like what's some of the key matchups for this game are you looking forward to seeing?
I'm looking to seeing Malik Neighbors on Marshawn Lattimore, how he comes out the gate, how he's able to, if we're in a more of a man-to-man situation, how he matches up with that, how he turns and runs with him. Also, you got Darius Slayton and and Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm just curious to see how like this secondary matches up overall. You got Russ, he's on a short leash. To say the least. Jackson Dart, he's going to be the second quarterback. So, they're looking to move towards him. Their jobs are on the line. They get off to a 0-2, 0-3 start. Russ is probably going to be out of there. So it's pivotal for all of these guys to see what they can do, how they can match up against this defense. I want to see this defensive line go up against this Giants offensive line and see if they can garner some pressure. Not too many household necessarily names on this Giants offensive line, but I think it's a solid unit, to say the least. But once we get more into this, that's the matches that I'm really looking forward to. There are corners against their receivers, how we can match up, and then not necessarily really worried about the running game too much. Tracy, he's kind of a shiftier back, but not too worried about him.
Yeah, and I think key matchups for me, I was going to say Amos. See how he comes out week one. How he holds up against the receivers. I think Amos. I don't think Marshawn will follow Neighbors. I think they're going to give it a shot, and I'm just going with a gut feeling on this. This is no report anywhere or anything like that, but I think you have that Trey Amos will be strong enough to be able to hold his side of the field down. So we'll see how it works with the matchup, because I'm sure he'll be able to match up against neighbors as well, and see how well he does there. And if they can, each lock down their own side without having to, move around, it just makes things much easier for the defense, less confusion and things of that nature. But also, outside of that, I want to see the opposite of what you said. Our offensive line against their pass rush. With them having Thibodeau, with them having Abdul Carter, with them
Burns,
having what's the other guy that's there?
Brian Burns.
Burns, yeah, like with them Burns, like they already had a pretty stout pass rush. Then adding Abdul Carter to that mix. This is something that we talked about early on. Don't round the draft time. When they went Abdul Carter,
Long, you can't forget about him.
Dexter Lawrence too, yeah. So when they went, Duke Carter in the draft, we kind of looked at it like, oh, we need to, kind of combat that. And our offensive line was looking shaky at that point. And then we end up drafting Connolly Jr., who's listed as a starter on this depth chart. So Connolly Jr. had a pretty strong, he started out camp, in our eyes, kind of looked a little iffy, but that was the learning pains. But I feel like as the games got closer, the preseason games, they highlighted his ability, to get to the next level, to seal off blocks, and to be versatile. So pass blocking was his strength, but he was also showed that he can pretty good in the run game as well. And of course, with having Tunsil on the other end to stay in his ear and mentoring him, we saw a lot of clips and a lot of pictures of them two, talking, and Tunsil kind of like giving them a game. And remember, they, try to paint this narrative that Tunsil wasn't the mentor type coming out of Houston. So that there, when I saw that him doing that here, just if that was true, it's just like, okay, these guys are buying into the system, they're buying into the culture. So it definitely was a plus. But with Connolly Jr. being able to enhance those techniques and whatnot, being able to be a day one starter, we'll see how that works out. But I think I have high hopes for him. And with being able to, with us drafting him and then trading, we traded for Tunsil prior to that. That was able to beef up this offensive line, because we knew last year, especially in the playoffs and definitely in the NFC Championship, our offensive line was getting pretty much abused. So we got to protect our best asset in Jayden, but also, just help the offense flow better and just be a better overall offense and be more versatile. So I think our offensive line against their defensive line is definitely a key matchup to keep your eye on, because them guys are going to be going at it, because they got some dogs on that end. And I think our offense is slowly becoming some dogs too.
Yeah, Abdul Carter isn't even listed on their depth chart as a starter. The names that Bobby Okereke, like pretty solid defense. Like that's the Giants. They're going to be a good defensive team.
Yeah.
So I agree with everything else you said. I was going to say that is a key matchup, their defensive line against our offensive line. But I think our offensive line is very improved, considering where we were a year ago. And also, curious to see once, how Allegretti or Wiley holds up until Cosme gets back.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. But I'm confident in I guess either or at the right guard. I would say I would prefer Wiley over Allegretti, but if Allegretti starts, it's a reason why he's starting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then even this offense, I want to see our offense flow. How are we going to use Debo? Is he going to be this gadget guy that he was in San Francisco? Cliff Kingsbury, known for his creativity. I think that he comes out. I mean, as we saw, what was that? The Bengals game preseason, first play they give him an end around. He goes for like 19 yards. So I think we're going to see a lot of that, a lot of end arounds. We're going to see him in the backfield. He's going to help us in the run game, the short yardage and the slide. I just think he's going to be all over this field. and Terry McLaurin now finally has a number 2 counterpart. So you can't just double Terry or try to blanket Terry because Debo is going to be able to kill you underneath, and guys like Jayden Lane may get some one-on-one opportunities. So it's exciting for this offense, and then we'll see how that go. But of course, the running game looks solid during that Bengals game as well. C-Rod got his, Bill got his. So we'll see how that works, and then I'm not gonna go into the season counting on Eckler like I did all through the offseason. I mean, he made it to this point, and we'll see how Eckler does. I'm gonna back off Eckler. I think that he will be a weapon for us. But I mean, how we'll just see how it works out.
Yeah, I think we're not really going to see truly what how Debo is going to be used. It's only week 1. We got a long season to go. They're not about to show everything off the rip for Debo. I mean, it sounds good, but you probably get an end around here. Some. It's going to be a whole lot of yak stuff for Debo. You know what I'm saying? All that underneath stuff we traditionally seen already. I don't think they're going to click the wrinkles just yet. I think it's too soon. You want to come out the gate with them hitting all of the wrinkles now. But definitely I think it's going to keep the defense honest. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard for you to bracket a guy like Terry McLaurin. So I feel like there'll be some shots to be had to take down the field in one-on-one coverage and things of that nature. I think Debo helps you out with that. And then if Noah Brown is back from his knee injury and fully ready to, go put every foot forward, then I think we'll find balance. And then you bring in a Jayden Lane, and we'll see what Luke McCaffrey is. He remains on this roster. So like you said, you're going to back off of Eckler. I'm gonna back off a little bit on Christian McCaffrey, but his leash is real short with Reedie. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens with that. But I'm just curious to see this running game, how that pans out. Like, who's actually going to get the bulk of the carries, or how is this going to shape out? Is it going to be a game to game, or we're going to think it's one thing and then the next game is something else, or what? Are they going to keep us all balanced? That's the key for me, is like, how are we going to run the football? Because we have to be able to run the football. Jayden can't be running for his life, getting out of there, and we want him to do that, but we don't want him to do that, if that makes sense. We'd rather him stay in the pocket, stay clean, and give the ball to the other playmakers to make their plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, occasionally on a third down or something like that, if he has to, get out of it and do your thing, but not like he was week 1 last year against Tampa, just running all over the place, running for his life.
Yeah, agreed on that. And also, I think we gotta, I'll say my first key is you gotta beat them with the quick game, with the pressure that they're gonna bring. Like we said, with these stout defensive linemen, we can name 4 guys that could be starters pretty much anywhere. And they're definitely gonna bring pressure. So and then to send blitz on top of that. I see a lot of situations where there's Ertz and Bates. We do a lot of double tight ends. We use our tight ends a lot of motion, moving around. So, beating them with the quick game to kind of offset that pressure will help. So I think that, but also, like you mentioned, with Jayden, don't just. Well, I'm not really worried about Jayden. I think he's going to continue to go through his progressions. He's going to process. He's going to be accurate. He's going to be all those things. And I think this year it allows him just to continue to stand there and be the quarterback without having, like you said, those design runs and having to run so much and rely on him so much. Because one of the key things I mentioned, in order for us to get back to where we were last year and to go into and get into the Super Bowl, we don't want to have to depend on Jayden so much like we did last year. Now, I mean, when you have to, you have to. But last year, I feel like we depended on him like with every ounce of us. So I don't want to see that. I want to see kind of some of the other guys step up and make plays, which I feel like we got some weapons. So we'll see.
I think we need to walk the Super Bowl talk back. I mean, you just got to just take it one step at a time. Dominating, winning our division, get to the playoffs. Then once we get in the tournament, we can figure it out from there. But I get the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl, but
Yeah,
it just feels very surreal hearing that come out of people's mouths actually in this fan base. Like it feels good, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, hold on, chill out. Let's relax a little
let's
bit.
go back.
Let's not put the cart ahead of the horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and I think also, like we said, establishing the run will definitely be a key part of that. Now, like you said, who's that going to be? Is it going to be C-Rod? Is it going to be Bill? I don't expect much from McNichols. Is it going to be Eckler on the third downs? Is he going to be more of a passing guy? I don't know. It's just a lot of questions. I mean, it's week one, so it's going to take a few weeks for us to kind of even try to think that we figured out the identity of the offense. But, it's just so many questions going in of like, how are we going to attack the Giants? And it's definitely exciting just knowing that we have options. That's the biggest thing for me, that we have options. So that helps a lot. Like last year with B-Rob, shout out, no slights at B-Rob or anything like that, but we just didn't feel like we had a threat or somebody that could just take it to the house. Where now we feel like we have a sprinkle of that in Bill. So, we'll see. But I do think that feeding Terry McLaurin earlier often is going to be key as well. And let him do his thing. He got some incentives he's motivated to try to hit. And with Banks too, it's always a great day when him and Banks get to go against each other, because Banks be popping his shit like he likes it.
Those incentives are for next year. Will kick in for next year's. So I think this year,
next year. I thought it was this year.
I think it would be for next year, right? Because because they said that when you sign the extension, it kind of starts the contract over.
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, because they make corrections to this year's, like what the money is for this year. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely him against Banks. See how that go. I like Terry against a lot of these inner division corners, because they be talking shit like they like that. And Banks being a guy that went to Maryland, I remember a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was him or another guy that maybe Terry was kind of getting shut down or something, or he kind of didn't have a big game, and Banks was definitely popping his shit. I didn't even know who he was at the time. That's actually how I found out about him. And ever since then, he's just been on my list. Like, yeah, go up top on his ass. Like, yeah, he's on my list.
Uptown Federal will definitely be electric. It's going to be a lot to cheer for. I'm looking forward to the season. Like, I'm looking at the calendar right now. It's Wednesday, and I'm like, hold up, what happens on Wednesday? Like, is it a press conference or like what's going on? Like, trying to remember like the flow of the actual game week, like the real flow of how everything goes. So
I think they dropped that's usually when they drop the injury report, right?
Yeah.
Let you know, the injury report and stuff leading into it, things of that nature. It's definitely it's usually a press conference to kind of start the week out in a sense and kind of give you some updates leading into.
Yeah, it's Dan. Now I remember. It's Dan today. Then tomorrow it's going to be the coordinators, and then Friday, I think it might be Dan.
Is the quarterback or is it Jayden? I think it might be Jayden.
It's one of them days.
Yeah. So, yep. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe this video. Send it out to your fellow commander, friends, compadres. And let's get us up. We're trying to get our channel to 2K. We're hanging around 1.5. Or we're at 1,600, 1.6.
Around 1,600. Not there yet, but almost there.
We're hanging around 1,600. So help push us to 2K. Doesn't cost you a thing. Hit the like button, hit the bell, so you'll be notified when we drop videos. we're always posting Commanders content. This year, we actually are ramping it up. We have our Monday Command shows. We're doing our pregame shows. We're doing our postgame shows. We're going to have some collab shows or whatnot. So Reedie Zee is turning it up a notch this year. We're also going to mix in some watch parties. So, first one being September 21st when we host the Raiders. So make sure y'all, the Las Vegas Raiders. So make sure y'all are staying in and tapped in with us. We're going to give y'all a tour of, I call it Reedie Field, but he gives it the honors of Reedie Zee Field. But you're gonna see that the basement is live and ready. As you can see, it's background there. You get a little sneak preview. But it's definitely a beautiful site over there. So I'll be able to see it for the first time when y'all see it. So make sure y'all tap in. We definitely gonna turn up on the 21st. But make sure y'all stay tapped in with us. But continue on these keys. Do you have any other keys that you want to talk about? Any other key matchups or anything?
Nah, it was the secondary, seeing how they hold up. Not really a running back threat, so I wouldn't even say that, and just see how this Von Miller and this edge and this pass rush, besides Frankie Louvu, blitzing all the time, like how that gels together, and see how they're going to put pressure on the quarterback. We do that, I think we'll be A-okay.
Yeah, and I one more for me. I want to make sure that we avoid slow starts. Get out and attack early. Especially when we played. Was it last year when we beat the Giants on 5 field goals?
Yeah,
like 5 or 6 field goals. Yeah, so like take advantage of your red zone opportunities. This offense moves the ball, and we get in the red zone pretty quickly. So make sure we take advantage of that. Convert. I already know we're going to be going on our 4th down, so let's make sure we convert those and keep that up. But to even keep ourselves out of those positions, a lot. Make sure we're getting chunk plays on 1st and 2nd downs. Mix it up, play action, some of those things. But outside of that, overall, I just want to avoid a slow start. Come out with energy. The last preseason game was abysmal. Offensively, defensively, I know it was a lot of, guys that didn't make the team that was out there, but it just seemed from a team perspective, the energy was just off. So I want to see opposite of that. I want to see us coming out firing on all cylinders and, just showing effort. When you show effort, great things happen. So from the opening kickoff, we need to be smacking people and, flying across the field. Anybody, anytime, anywhere is the motto. So we got to go for it,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But if my partner don't have anything else, that'll wrap up the show. Like we said, make sure you like, share, subscribe to @Reedie Zee on all platforms. Shout out to our sponsors, KB3 Events, Saray's Catering, and Great Clothing Line. Make sure you check out on Great Clothing Line. We have some new pieces out there circulating. So check out the site and, hit us up if you have any inquiries. We do custom wear. So if you are a fan or a brand and you need some custom gear, make sure you holler at us. We can work out some deals for you. And definitely, like we started the show, I want to end the show wishing my brother and his missus a happy 8-year anniversary. Salute to them. Shout out to Mrs. Boston. Her sacrifices allows Reedie Zee podcast to be what it is. We love you, Mrs. Boston.
Man, amen.
No question.
But we'll
we out.
Reedie Zee shout.